All right, guys, got to talk a little bit about Twitter here. Elon Musk caused quite a stir last night. There were all these news stories floating around that perhaps, even though it already looks bad, it perhaps might be even worse than it looks in terms of where Twitter is at.
Ship has taken on a lot of water.
Yes. So I'll just read you guys some of the stuff that came across my feed last night. Everybody was basically giving their RIP Twitter takes.
Yeah.
And they were saying here's what I love about this site. Here's what I hated about this site.
By the way, here's where you can follow me when the site is over.
Yeah, it felt like, that scene in Titanic where they're playing the instruments as the ship goes down.
By the way, you guys should subscribe to our newsletter on Substack, obviously.
Yeah, and subscribe to our YouTube channels.
There's a free version. Of course, we love if you pay, but there is a free version if you just want to keep up with what we're up to.
Correct. So anyway, here's what I saw last night. New. Twitter just alerted employees that effective immediately, all office buildings are temporarily closed and badge access is suspended. No details given as to why. More. Hearing from multiple employees that the odds of Twitter breaking in the near future are very high. So the reason why we're hearing this is Elon sent a letter internally. Now remember, he already fired, I think, more than 50% of Twitter. They had, 7,000 employees, something like that.
Yeah.
He fired half of them, which is thousands of them. And then the ones who remained, he sent out a letter recently that was like, look, I'm a hard worker. I work day and night. I care about my projects. Bottom line is, if you want to work for this company, you're going to work from the office and you're going to work basically crazy hours.
Yeah, and he said you had to be in for hardcore Twitter or something he called it.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It was very old school. Ooh, the thing's floating away from us. Let me move. Let me move this back towards us. It was very old school kind of authoritarian boss man language of this is how it's going to be. This is my company. I run a tight ship, etc. And what we heard was, hey, people were like, nope, not going to do that. We're out. Peace. And so I read up to 88% of all employees since the beginning of the month are now gone.
And so that's from the original number?
From 80%? Before he fired 50%
Wow.
of them. So in other words, a lot of the people who even remained temporarily are now gone because they're like, I don't want to do this shit.
Well, and they were already having product issues. The one that I know about is two-factor authentication. If you had it turned on where to sign into a new device, they had to send you a text message to whatever phone number you had on record. If you're they would say, okay, we sent you a text message, and then it just would never come. So if you were trying to log in on a new device or whatever, you forget it. You're done. So if you forgot your password, that'd be another reason.
So that was because Elon saw internally that there's a lot of this stuff called bloatware that the company works with. And I guess he didn't like the sound of the term bloatware. It sounds like it's bad. It sounds like it's negative. It almost sounds like some sort of computer virus or something. It was like, bloatware, we got to get rid of that. Let's just get rid of that. So they axed a lot of it. And a lot of that was, like you just described, some of the companies that are involved with that process. So then after he axed it, he came oh shit, now people can't get in on certain devices with the two-factor authentication because, the text messages aren't going out or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just, man, what a mess. So anyway, more. Story to be updated soon with more. And hearing that several critical infrastructure engineering teams at Twitter have completely resigned. Quote, you cannot run Twitter without this team, one current engineer tells me of one such group. Also, Twitter has shut off badge access to its offices. And then I have one more here. This is from the Washington Post. Elon Musk is allowing employees to work remotely if managers assert they're making, quote, an excellent contribution. Twitter employees said they were surprised by the large number of colleagues who accepted severance rather than sign a pledge to work harder. So that was what we were talking about. Elon was like, you got to work harder. And a lot of people were like, no, I'll take the 3 months severance and I'm out, bitch.
Yeah.
So anyway, there were talks of behind the scenes, Elon was individually calling a lot of the people. This is going to fall. Elon was individually calling a lot of the people and basically begging them to stay.
Yeah.
You're good. Okay. You're good. Good enough. Whatever. You guys know what we look like. It's not a big deal. So yeah, that's where we're at. So now I heard a lot of people on Twitter were doing the, RIP thing. And then I saw some people who were like, look, I know there's probably going to hang around. So it's going to look silly that we're saying all this stuff, but let's just get it out there anyway. And then some people were taking the contrarian position of this was a brilliant move by Elon. The classic, let me dick ride him harder than anybody's ever been dick rode of all time.
I mean, I think you could make an argument that the world would be better on balance without Twitter. I think there is an argument for that, but this isn't like some genius Elon plan. It's just Elon literally fucking up everything that he could possibly fuck up. I mean, he's already had multiple things like the Twitter blue thing that he comes in, he implements it, just like all in on it, and then like instantly has to backtrack. Or like firing employees and then having to like call them back, you know, and be like, actually, we do kind of need you here. Sorry about that. Or the saying, no, you have to be in the office, and then going like, well, you know, if you're like good at what you do, I guess you could work from home. So it's a disaster. It's complete chaos. It shows you, number one, why even white collar employees really need unions, because you couldn't just do this completely catastrophic gutting of a company and like destroying people's lives. If they were unionized, there'd have to be a process. And number two, why we should not depend on the whims of any billionaire, Elon Musk or anyone else, for critical infrastructure for our democracy, which Twitter effectively is at this point. So Ryan Grum was floating like, we should, like, a public corporation should buy this. This should be put in public trust. It should basically be nationalized and subject to like democratic accountability. Much better situation than like hoping Elon figures it out and gets his shit together and doesn't totally destroy something that a lot of people have come to depend on.
Yeah, I mean, you know my thing. I'm fine with it being a private company, but I want it regulated like a public utility. But obviously I don't, like, in Elon's hands, it's not safe. My main beef with him is that he's super erratic. He comes up with like 10 new ideas a day, implements a bunch of them, rolls back 90% of them, like just keeps digging himself a deeper and deeper hole. And the other thing that annoys me is that the endless contradictions with Elon. So like his whole thing originally was like, free speech, we're gonna do free speech.
Right.
And then your brilliant idea is, let's make people pay $8 a month for verification. And it's like, by his own admission, that would set up a two-tier system where he says, if you pay the $8, your tweets get prioritized. If you don't, you're in like a separate category. Well, then shut the fuck up about the free speech shit, because this is not free speech. That's fundamentally the opposite of free speech. You're saying, let's set up a two-tier system. If you pay me, you get preferential treatment.
Right.
That's not two-tier. That's not free speech, sorry.
Yeah, he originally said, I don't even care, this isn't about profit. This is about free speech. It's about the principle of the matter. And then, of course, you know, instantly it's like, all right, let me slash the workforce. Let me do the $8 pay thing, and then when the advertisers start fleeing, let me go to the advertiser, oh, please come back, and how can you leave us, and all of this. I mean, it's clearly like he doesn't actually care about the free speech part. It's the perfect embodiment of that is when he tweets out like, comedy is now legal on Twitter, and then like 2 days later they're banning Kathy Griffin for a parody of him, I think it was, that he was like upset about. It's just, he's firing Twitter employees that dare to be
critical of him in the Slack.
Moderately critical of him on Slack or publicly. He really is he's an authoritarian. I mean, that's his impulse.
He said comedy is now legal on Twitter, and then a bunch of people put their picture as Elon Musk, put their name as Elon Musk. But you could see, if you look at the ad, they weren't Elon Musk. It was somebody else.
It wasn't
and they were
hard
making
to
fun
figure
of him.
out. Yeah.
They were making fun of him, and then he changes the rule to, well, you have to put parody in your name somewhere. And people even put parody in their name and still got banned.
Yeah.
And he's just thin-skinned. He doesn't want the criticism. And again, the perfect example of that is what you just described. People who were critical of him in their company Slack whatevers, you know, there was a whole bunch of ways that the people within the company communicate with each other. People who were critical of him, he literally went through with a fine-tooth comb, handpicked the ones who were critical and said, I'm going to fire you.
Yeah.
And then again, his dick riders are like, bro, you're not supposed to criticize your boss like that. What are you talking about?
Those people are amazing to me. Truly amazing to me.
The Elon simps.
That after all of this,
everything,
you could still be like, he's a genius. He's got a master plan. This is just all part of the plan. Like, you all just don't understand. It's like, wow. I mean, it just shows you there's literally nothing he could do that would persuade you that maybe he's not what you thought that he was.
It's very Trumpian. But at least with Trump now, you see some of the base going like, with Elon, it never stops. Final thing, I want to plug Thunderfoot, old school YouTuber from back in the day, still out there doing his thing. And for whatever reason, he's had like a hate boner for Elon Musk for a long time.
Oh, really?
So early on the videos about Elon, people were like, I don't know, man, like he would get like 50% dislike rates and stuff, and people would be like maybe we don't agree with him. But now, the more time has gone by and the more you see of Elon like over-promising stuff, under-delivering stuff, you see what's going on with Twitter. Now go back and look at all of his videos on Elon Musk, and it's like fucking prophecy.
Wow.
Because this guy truly, like, he promises the stars and delivers fucking Dickie McGee's acts.
Yeah.
And so go check out those videos. I'm not doing it justice here, but type in Thunderfoot Elon Musk and you'll see he's been covering him very closely for a long time. I mean, he makes the argument, and I think it's actually fair, that not only is he just like, he's a dumb billionaire or whatever. No, he's like what's the Theranos lady's name?
Oh,
Elizabeth Holmes.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Holmes level fraudster is the argument that he makes.
Wow.
And I don't know. But anyway, there you have it. What ultimately is going to happen with Twitter, I can't venture a guess. I mean, my default assumption is at some point he's going to dump it on somebody else at a loss and just sort of move on.
He said he doesn't want to be CEO of it forever. So I guess that's like him starting to be like, you know, maybe I don't really want to do this.
Yeah, but I really hope that you don't get these super radical changes to Twitter, because I want them to keep what made it good in the first place.
Yeah.
And I just want a steady hand of leadership in a way. Honestly, it makes me, as critical as I am of like the people on YouTube, it makes me kind of be thankful.
Well, it definitely makes me long for the days of Jack Dorsey at the
I know, right?
Twitter. He did
with
a much
his fucking
job. I mean,
kombucha and meditating on a mountain. Go ahead, dude. Do whatever you want to do. Just keep Twitter okay.
You also come to realize, like, and this goes back to like the profit motive and why it's sort of deleterious if you actually care about free speech and the democratic aspect of Twitter and these other spaces. Like, you will never really get there as long as you have advertisers effectively running the show. And that's why Jack and Mark Zuckerberg and all the rest make sort of similar level content moderation decisions, because that ultimately isn't coming from like their woke staff or whatever. It's coming from the demands of the advertisers that are you know, keeping them profitable.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, I hope Twitter hangs on, but obviously Elon's doing a terrible job.